I'm Fig. Welcome to my studio. Today I'd like to make a twisted cane. We're going to start by making a little fire, a little sparky, a little propane, a little oxygen. Boom, we got fire. And with that fire I'm going to melt this white rod. And it's nice, but it goes a little slow for me, so I'm going to melt it faster. I think I'm going to make a bigger fire. Turn on my bigger flame. And to melt this as quickly as possible, I'm going to stick this rod in the flame on the bias, or diagonal. Get as much surface of that white exposed to the fire as possible. And then as it melts, it's just folding down back towards my hand. That's it, Rod. Come on, melt, baby, melt. My brain goes a lot faster than what I can melt. Let it fold back onto itself. Get that heat into the cold glass behind it so it melts even faster. Okay. Once I get this all melted down, let's take my trusty handy-dandy paddle. I'm going to shape it into kind of a cylindrical shape. I've got plenty of glass now for this, so make sure it's clean. It looked like there was some spooge on there. I'm just going to run it up and down the runway there. And I basically just made a cylinder of white wider than what I already had going here with the store-bought rod. The glass itself is manufactured in Italy. And then you got schmageggies like me buying it and using it to make into other things. Okay, so I'm going to just stick this white cylinder onto a handle of clear. Just going to put a blob of clear on the end there. Maybe I'll add some more clear. Beef that bad boy up. Stick it on there. And let's melt this side off. I do make lots of twisted canes. If you look in the back there where I have some glass storage, you'll see some twisted canes. But this was one I got the recipe for early on. I saw this recipe in the back of a trade magazine. Maybe it was for making beads. But it was for this purple twisty cane. And I find it's a very useful cane, and it's purple, and gotta love me some purple. When I first started melting a Fetre, or this Italian glass, I have to admit their palette of colors was very nice, but it was weakest in the purples. So discovering this recipe for a patterned cane with purple glass was kind of a nice thing. Alright, so I've made a white cylinder, and I'm going to add some white stripes to it, some fins, if you will. Let's beef this flame up. More glass. Nice juicy blob of glass, and then we'll just sort of drag it on there and leave a nice fin. And let's repeat that a couple of times. Just need some raised valleys and low peaks. So it's textured, kind of like a star. Peaks and valleys. Alright, now that I've put on all the white that I'm going to use, about a half a rod there, I'm going to switch to some black. Now this black is not an opaque color. It's actually a very dense amethyst purple, or clear, a clear amethyst purple. But it's so dense that it really looks black. But when I stretch it out really thin, that purple will come through. So what I'm going to do is just brush a black line right down in the valley of each one of those crevices that I created by putting those white lines down. So it's going to be black, white, black, white. It's really an amethyst, very dense amethyst. Because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that black down, and I'm going to actually pick up a rod of amethyst, and I'm going to cover this entire circumference with more amethyst glass. So it covers both the black and the white. Alright, let's get through this. Come on, quick. Like I said, my brain definitely goes faster than the glass that I melt. So, get in there, melt it really quick, and just brush it on. There we go. And I like to work right up against where I last put it down. And this way I get a nice, neat covering, and I could plunge the glass down into any nook and cranny and fill up any cranny, so I'm not trapping any air pockets. Air pockets in my cane, when I pull this out into a pattern bar, will cause it to break. Okay. So, quickly getting this entirety of this covered in this purple amethyst glass. Believe it or not, after I make it all the way around once, I'm going to smooth it down, and I'm going to go all the way around it one more time with another layer of amethyst glass. And I thank you for indulging me and watching this the whole time. But this is my world. That's what I do. I watch glass melt, and then I brush it on. Alright, before I brush another layer on, let's put the big flame back on. Get this puppy nice and hot. And I'm just going to run it up and down this graphite pad here, just to smooth things out, so when I put my next layer of purple down, there's less nooks and crannies to trap air pockets in. Everything's getting all wiggly because it's getting all hot. When it gets hot, it gets soft. Let's put that big flame out and put one more layer of this amethyst glass on. And do this as quickly as possible so you can get on with it. There we go. Whenever you pull rods, pattern bars, whether you're doing it here at the torch, or if you're working in front of a furnace with large quantities of glass, you do actually use larger quantities of glass. And using, didn't mean to do that. You got to watch me glue this stick right onto my cane where I didn't want it to glue on. I wanted to go back into the fire and melt more glass. What I was saying is that when you pull cane, you're dealing with large amounts of heat and large amounts of glass. And you saw that. It was half a rod of white. Looks like it's going to be in a whole rod of one of these purple rods. When I'm working in front of the furnace and I pull cane, it can be scary because you're like dealing with hundreds of dollars worth of raw material that if you mess it up, it's an expensive mistake. Alright, we're just about there with this, guys. Then I need to make end caps and pull this guy out. Alright, good. Good enough. So for the end caps, let's go back to big flame. I need to melt glass fast now. Notice I heat up on the bias, diagonally in the flame, and I heat up behind what I want to melt. It takes away the heat sink and things melt pretty quick. And what I want to do is build a nice, good, heavy amount of clear glass. It doesn't have to be pretty. It could be yucky. I can pick up scraps laying around if I had them. Because I want to cover this entire end with clear. I want to get all the way out to the edge. And then I have this rod of borosilicate glass. I haven't marked with a gum band, so this way I don't mix it up and get it confused with this Italian glass that I'm using, because they don't play together. But it makes for a really good handle, because it takes the heat and doesn't melt as quickly as this Italian glass does. Alright, so let's center it. Knock off this old handle, and we'll get this end cap built on this side. We're almost there. Yep. Got to make sure I cover all the way out to that outskirts. And then I'll take my borosilicate, plunge it into the clear, not into the color. And go north, south, east, west, get a nice good solid grip. And now rotisserie action. Now we're getting to the fun part. I just got to crush the heat all the way down to the core, and I'll be able to pull this sucker out, and I'll twist it like a barber pole. You might be able to see it's getting brighter and brighter. And when I heat it, I'm heating up the ends, those clear ends. And that does a couple of things for me. It provides heat to when I pull it out, I get a more even pull, because if you've ever done this, you'll see it pulls really nice, but it has those sort of knuckles on the end, kind of like a dog bone. Nice long straight thing with those knuckles on the end. And I don't want the knuckles to be all that purple glass that I put together. I want it to be that garbage clear. Alright, it's scary, it's good and hot. I'm going to come out of the flame, and at first it's about twisting it. It's not really about pulling my hands apart. I can pull my hands apart really easily right now, but I want it to stiffen up. And as it gets longer and longer, I can cool it down, but I can't blow on it, so I'll swing it, and that gets the whole thing nice and hot. And as it's getting stiffer, my hands are pulling harder and harder apart. I'm twisting like gangbusters. I'm going to shut off the oxygen to a brighter flame so you can see the purpleness. That's nice. Thanks.